back to Gabbin with Jessa. Today's video, I want to rant about some great movies that I absolutely love this year that did not get any recognition at the Oscars. Now, Oscar nominations happened a few weeks ago. I'll leave a link to my reaction to them in the description below, but I wanted to take some time and think about all of the films that I was able to see in 2022 or 2022 releases that I finally got to see this year. And I have some thoughts about other great movies that I think should have deserved some kind of recognition alongside the ones that did. Now, I'm not saying like, oh, I would replace this actor with this actor or this screenplay with this screenplay. These are just some movies that I loved and I think would be great additions to have as Academy Award nominations. And so this list is going to include 15 movies that I absolutely loved that did not get any kind of Oscar recognition and what I think they should have been nominated for. Now, I will say I made this list before I saw the movie Till. I did just recently see Till. I actually saw it last night on the day that I'm recording this. And while it's not included in the 15, Danielle Deadwyler 100% got robbed and should have been nominated for Best Actress. I just wanted to put that out there now, but by the time I made this list, I hadn't seen it yet, but Till would definitely be on here for Danielle Deadwyler because that is criminal of what the Oscars did. So here are 15 movies that I think should have received some kind of Oscar nomination. And these first three, I want to say, are the reason why I decided to do this video because I was so furious that they did not get any kind of recognition. So the first one, and I think a lot of people will agree with me, is Decision to Leave. Decision to Leave was one of the best movies of the year. It was in my top 5. I want to say it was my third or fourth favorite movie of the year. I can't remember off the top of my head, but the fact that it didn't, at the minimum, get Best Foreign Language Film is criminal. Like, straight to jail. Like, do not pass go, do not collect $200. It's horrible that it did not get recognized. I thought it was a beautiful film. It was sad. It was inspiring. It was just spoke to me in a way that not a lot of films have recently. I think 2022 has been a great year for film, probably the best one since like 2019. And the fact that this did not get nominated is so frustrating to me. Now, what I would have nominated for, solely based on my opinion, but my opinion is my opinion, which means it's correct. I would have nominated this for Best Picture, like overall just Best Picture. Best Director as well. Park Chan-wook is the director, so he deserved a nomination. Let's see, what else do I have here? Best Actor for Park Hae-il, because, oh my goodness, such a great performance. I was just heartbroken to watch it, and I think seeing him struggle the way that he does makes the movie. I also have Best Actress on here. I have my notebook of my notes right here, but Best Actress for Tang Wei. She was amazing. Oh my goodness, she was amazing. And I know she was kind of starting-ish to get steam there, at least on film Twitter, but should have been nominated. Best International Feature Film, obviously, that should have been the easiest category. And then Best Original Screenplay, I also think it should have been nominated for 100%. Decision to Leave not being on here is criminal. Another movie I think should have been nominated for something. It probably only really had a chance at getting one nomination, but the fact that it didn't still makes me mad, and that is She Said. I loved She Said. It was a great combination of Spotlight and Bombshell, and the fact that it didn't get the one thing I thought it should have been nominated for, kind of similar to Decision to Leave, just makes me mad. And that is Best Adapted Screenplay, which I 100% think it should have gotten. I think that the screenplay was great. I think that it was an interesting movie. A lot of it I think people didn't like because it was a lot on cell phone talking, but that doesn't mean that there aren't great conversations there. That doesn't mean that it doesn't move the story along. This is 2017 that this is coming out. Of course everything is going to be like on cell phones. So Best Adapted Screenplay, obviously I think it should have been nominated for that. I also would have nominated it for Best Picture. I honestly would have. It was one of my favorite movies. It might not have been in my top 10, but it's something that should have been recognized for what it was, and I still think it should have been nominated for Best Picture, especially if Hollywood likes to think that they are, making up for their issues based on what this film is about. They clearly don't care. Not that they don't care, that's not really what I mean, but like, it's kind of funny that this movie focusing on the Harvey Weinstein investigation didn't get any recognition. I don't know, I just think it's just interesting. It's interesting. I also think it should have been nominated for Best Director, who is Maria Schrader, and director was just... I'm not mad at who is nominated for the directors, but I wish we could have gotten at least one female in there. So I would have nominated Maria Schrader as well. And then a lot of the performances spoke to me. Best Actress for Zoe Kazan, obviously. And I guess Best Supporting Actress for Carey Mulligan. I would personally nominate her in Leading Actress, but because she was really campaigning and got some recognition for Supporting Actress, fine, I'll throw her in Supporting Actress. But two other supporting actresses that I think should have gotten recognition, Samantha Morton. She's been talked about a lot, 100%. But one that hasn't been talked about, that was my favorite, like my personal favorite supporting actress, is Jennifer Ehle. I don't know why she was not talked about as much as, like, Samantha Morton. I don't know why. It was her performance that really drove the emotion for me. Maybe she wasn't in it enough. I don't know. But, yeah. And then, like I said before, Best Adapted Screenplay easily should have been nominated for that. And the third movie that really drove me to want to make this list, which, again, I don't think it's going to be any surprise, is The Woman King. Again, The Woman King, just like Decision to Leave, was in my top 5, either 3 or 4. I can't remember which order I put both of those movies in. But the fact that this movie didn't get any recognition is so frustrating. Now, I know that there's controversy behind it, specifically from African Americans and those who are not happy with the Hollywoodization of what this tribe was, especially because they were part of the slave trade and they helped bring slaves over, and the movie really, I know, wants to think, oh, and then they, tried to stop that. They did do that, but now they're not doing that anymore. And I don't think, from what I've heard, that's not necessarily historically accurate. And I'm not really one to speak on that or say anything on that, because I only know what I have seen from the research I've done and from this movie. So I really cannot say, if this criticism is valid or not. I don't really think that's my place. But I still loved the movie for what it was, even if it was a fictional kind of people. It still would have been an amazing movie. And even if you don't want to recognize the story or anything behind it, there are still other things about this movie that could have easily been recognized. First of all, Viola Davis for Best Actress. That's just an obvious one as well. Also, Best Picture, I have this. I would have nominated it for Best Picture too. And I would have nominated it for Best Director for Gina Price Byworth. Like, I don't understand why those were not easy conversations that could have been had. But I would have also thrown 2 supporting actresses in there. I would have had Thuso Mbedu and also LaShonda Lynch, because they were both fantastic in it for 2 completely different reasons, and I love that. I also would have given this 2 easy texts right off the bat. If you didn't want to recognize the story of it, fine, but I would have also given it to production design and costuming. I am so frustrated that it did not get at least, at the very minimum, costumes. Like, what is that? What are we doing here if we're not giving it costumes? Have you seen those costumes? They're fantastic. And so I'm very, very frustrated with that as well. But those are the 3 movies that really inspired me to make this list. And I just wanted to add some other ones on there as well. I'm not going to talk about those as much because I really just wanted to focus on these 3 movies, but I wanted to just mention some other movies that I've liked throughout the year as well that 100% should have gotten recognition. One of those is The Menu, and for The Menu, I would have nominated it for Best Picture. I would have nominated it for Best Actor for Ralph Fiennes, or Best Supporting Actor. I've seen people put him in both. I would put him in more leading than I would supporting. Same thing with Carey Mulligan, but hey, you do you, boo-boo. I would have also nominated Anya Taylor-Joy for Best Actress. I thought she was phenomenal in that. I also would have nominated Hong Chow in this for Best Supporting Actress. I really loved her character in The Menu. I thought it was a fantastic performance. I am so happy she got nominated for The Whale, 100% deserved, but I also would have liked to see her get nominated for this, which I know is impossible, but hey, doesn't mean it could have been fun if we saw her nominated twice in Best Supporting Actress. I know that can't happen, but I like chaos. And I also would have nominated this for Best Original Screenplay. I thought it was great. Another one that I knew the Academy was not going to recognize just because of what it is, and that is Nope. I would have nominated this for Best Picture, easily. I also would have nominated this for Best Director for Peele, easily. Also, Best Actor for Danielle Kaluuya, easily. And another one, I guess Best Supporting Actress, because she has been nominated and won in some of the prior precursor critics events, Keke Palmer for her role as well. Visual effects should have easily been given. I also would have nominated this for Best Cinematography because it was gorgeous. I loved the way this was shot. I thought it added to the tension of the movie in general. Best Production Design too. Where was that? And Best Sound. There's just so much about that movie, tech-wise, that could have been nominated and wasn't. And that makes me very, very mad. I'm just a very angry person, obviously. Next is Bones and All. And this is where we're going to start seeing not so many Best Picture nominations, some that I'm actually looking through, so I don't know why I said that. I'm clearly a liar. But for Bones and All, I would have nominated this for Best Actor for Timothée Chalamet. He was such an enjoyable character to watch. It was so fascinating to watch him explore with this role. Also Best Actress for Taylor Russell. I know she was getting some recognition too, so that makes me happy, but I would have loved to see her get Oscar recognition. And also Best Supporting Actor for Mark Rylance. He was weird as hell, and I loved every second of it. Where is his Best Supporting Actor nomination? I don't know. Where else? Best Adapted Screenplay. I thought the story was really nice. I think that it moved along well. I haven't read the book yet, but I think that the story, it flowed really well. The pacing felt right. I didn't feel like it was too long or too short. And then I also would have nominated this, again for a little chaos, for Best Sound, because those crunching sounds, just having the Academy have to watch this so they can hear those sounds, I don't know, I think that would have been chaotic, and I would have loved it. And then a movie that I think kind of went under the radar, it was released by Netflix, but that I loved. I think I'm one of the only people who really loved it. I think it was in my top 10 movies of the year. Might have been top 15. Can't really remember. But that is The Wonder. And I would have nominated this for Best Actress for Florence Pugh. She is putting everything into this role, and it was great. I also would have nominated this for Best Costume Design because I'm a sucker for some of those old-timey dresses and costumes. And there was something about the costumes that just really stuck with me as I was watching the movie. I don't know why, but they just were, and it was so cool to see. I also would have nominated this for Best Adapted Screenplay. Again, I think the story flowed well. I think the pacing was good. I think everything about it just worked for me. And then Best Cinematography, because I just think this old-timey movie, or when it's set in older times, I thought it was a lot of fun to watch. I thought it was a lot of fun visually to see, and it kept me captivated and motivated, and I loved it. I loved it. Maybe a controversial pick next, but I also think Don't Worry Darling should have gotten some recognition. Not for the story, the directing, anything like that, but more so on the tech side, and not too many techs, but I think it should have walked away with maybe a nomination or two. I put Florence Pugh here again for Best Actress. Again, she put 150% into that role, and it was amazing. I'm one of the people that actually pretty enjoyed Don't Worry Darling. It wasn't as horrible as I think people made it out to be. But the two things that stood out to here, besides Florence Pugh's performance, were the costumes again and the production design. Two things I think it definitely should have been recognized for, because they were great. I'm like, I walked away from that movie, I'm like, ooh, maybe I want to go back to the 50s. That house was cute, those dresses were cute, I totally wear those, but I don't want to like stay home all day kind of thing, so not that part of like the 50s, but everything else was cute. So yeah, I think Don't Worry Darling definitely deserved some recognition for either its production design or its costumes, especially just like the creepiness of where they were living, which the name of it is already escaping me because I haven't seen this movie in a while, but whatever that California desert town that they live in, Victory Project, that's what it is. I don't know, there was something about the similarity-ness of it. It felt very Dollhouse-like, and maybe that's what they were going for because of what it turns out to be at the end. I don't really know, but thoughts. Another amazing movie that I don't think realistically could have been nominated or gotten anything too much from the Academy, but it could have potentially gotten something, was Cha-Cha Real Smooth by Cooper Raiff. I think that this could have definitely gotten Best Picture. It was one of my top movies of the year. I think that it could have been one of those that got Best Picture, and then maybe a few others, kind of like Coda. I think it could have gotten. I think one of the strongest things it could have gotten was Dakota Johnson for Best Supporting Actress. She's phenomenal in this movie. And then also Best Original Screenplay. I think it could have been like the Coda of this year, where it's only nominated for 3 things, but it could easily walk away with those 3 things, one of them being the big prize of the night. So I think Cha-Cha Real Smooth is a really great movie that, again, kind of went under the radar for general audiences, not so much film Twitter people like myself, but that everyone, I think, should see. Next, I have The Northman. I think that this movie was crazy but beautiful. I would have nominated this for Best Picture as well. I would have nominated it for Best Actor for Skarsgård. Best Score, 100% should have been nominated for. Production Design, yes, obviously, give it to it. And then again, Best Costuming and Best Cinematography. This movie was such an epic, and I think it went a little under the radar. And it's just a weird kind of different movie that I don't think Academy members would really go for, you know? So I think that's kind of upsetting. I think The Northman deserved a lot more credit than it got and should have been recognized. Then I have Moon Age Daydream. This was one of the best documentaries of the year. I haven't seen that many still, but 100% should have been nominated for Best Documentary Feature. I 100% think it should have. I also think something I haven't seen before personally, at least since really getting into the Oscars, seeing a documentary get nominated for more than one thing, Flea being one of the bigger ones that I can think of in most recent years. But I also would have given Moon Age Daydream Best Editing. I think it deserves it, and if you've seen it, I think you would agree with me that I think it deserves Best Editing. It's just so much about, I think, like, who Bowie was as a person and what he did. And I think that the craziness, the zaniness, sometimes I did get a little lost, but it was always brought back. And it was a wild ride. And I think that's in due part to the editing. And so I would have given it editing easily. One movie that I know would never have gotten recognition is Bodies, 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 actually. I love that movie. I thought it was very interesting, and I would have nominated it for Best Original Screenplay, which I know could be a hot take, but I think it worked. It was trying to play on Gen Z and their culture and the talk and everything like that. I say I am not Gen Z, so do not try to put me into that category, but I think it worked perfectly, especially as a commentary on Gen Z and a satire about them. And I also would have nominated Rachel Sennett for Best Supporting Actress because, I mean, come on, the clips you've seen of her are absolutely amazing. So let Rachel Sennett be an Oscar nominee for Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I think that would have rounded out who that character was, like, perfectly. And I don't know why. It just makes sense to me, you know? The 13th movie that I loved, that I think should have gotten some recognition, is Good Luck to You, Leo Grande. This was a very simple movie. This was really only starring Emma Thompson and Daryl McCormack, both of who I would nominate for Best Actress and Best Actor, respectively. And it's a story that I think a lot of people need to hear but that won't really want to seek it out, but once they find it, they enjoy it, if that makes sense. And I don't know why it feels like that, because it does talk about aging, it does talk about love and sex and importance of feeling your very best self, no matter who you are, especially as you get older and maybe you realize that you haven't done something that you've wanted to do. And I think it's a very beautiful movie. I think it's a very touching one, and it's very fun and flirty, and it's not what you think it is from maybe what you've seen from the trailer or from the movie posters or anything. And I think it's a movie that more people need to see, but not because I love it so much, but because of just what it is as a movie, from the story behind it, because I think it's a very grounded in reality story that can happen to anyone, that may happen to anyone, that may be going through anything. And I would also nominate it for Best Original Screenplay because of that story, because of how it made me feel, because of how you could tell how the characters were and who they were and how they were feeling and everything that they were going through. And I think that it just really spoke to me. And I think it would speak to a lot of people too if they knew how to find it. And it's on Hulu, that's how you can find it. But yeah, I think that this movie needs to be seen by more people. I think it needs to be out there more. 14, another one that I know the Oscars would never recognize, but I thought was fun and had a good time, and that is Barbarian. I would probably nominate this for Best Screenplay, Best Original Screenplay. I think that halfway through the movie, when it goes through that change, I was so confused. I was like, what is happening here? I do not know how this works, and then it does end up working, and it was a lot of fun. But I'm like, did the man up in the top forget to like switch out the movie halfway through or something? It was a very jarring twist, and I think that's what it made it work for me. And I would also give it Best Production Design, because why not? I thought the house that they stayed in, that Airbnb, was very fun. I think that it was a very interesting kind of set, and while it's like Knock at the Cabin that I talked about in a previous video, where that's kind of like where the only location is, I think it works, and I think 100% Best Production Design. And last but certainly not least, I have The Bad Guys. This was an animated movie out of DreamWorks that made me realize, oh, DreamWorks is back, aren't they? This came out in April, I want to say, before Puss in Boots came out, which I'm so glad that Puss in Boots came out, and that one got nominated because that's a great movie. But The Bad Guys, while the story might have been a simple idea, it was a lot of fun. I think they did a really good job with it. I was thrown for a twist partway through, so I mean, good for you, DreamWorks, you fooled me. But it would have been fun to see The Bad Guys get nominated for Best Animated Feature. Not anything else, really, but that would have been fun. Alright, so those are 15 movies that I think should have been nominated for Oscars and weren't, and what I would have nominated them for. Are you excited for the Oscars? Were there any movies that you think should have been nominated but that weren't? Let me know all that down in the comments below. But thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, keep on gabbing.